It was a beautiful day for a flight. The sun was shining, the sky was blue, and there wasn't a cloud in sight. The kind of day that makes you feel like everything is right with the world, where the air is crisp and the horizon stretches endlessly. The perfect conditions for a journey through the skies. Aloha Airlines Flight 243 was cruising at a comfortable 24,000 feet, en route from Hilo to Honolulu, Hawaii. The route was familiar to many of the crew, a well-trodden path over the stunning Pacific Ocean, offering breathtaking views of the islands below. The passengers, a mix of locals returning home and tourists eager to explore the paradise that is Hawaii, settled into their seats, ready for the short hop between the islands. On board were 6 crew members and 89 passengers, a mix of locals and tourists looking forward to their destinations. Families chatted excitedly about their plans, couples held hands, and solo travelers gazed out of the windows, lost in thought. The cabin was filled with the hum of conversation and the occasional laugh, a microcosm of humanity at ease. Captain Robert Schornsteiner, a seasoned pilot with years of experience, was at the helm. With over 8,000 flight hours under his belt, he was a trusted and respected figure in the aviation community. His calm demeanor and steady hand had guided countless flights safely to their destinations. He had flown this route countless times before. It was routine, predictable. The kind of flight that allowed him to relax a bit, to enjoy the beauty of the journey as much as the passengers did. He knew every nuance of the route, every potential weather pattern, every air traffic control handoff. First Officer Madeline Tompkins, known for her cool head and quick thinking, assisted him. She was relatively new to the airline but had quickly proven herself to be an invaluable member of the team. Her sharp instincts and ability to remain calm under pressure made her the perfect complement to Captain Schornsteiner. The cabin crew, led by head attendant Clarabelle Lansing, a woman known for her warm smile and unflappable demeanor, saw to the passengers' comfort. Clarabelle had a way of making everyone feel at ease, her presence a reassuring constant on every flight she worked. Her team moved efficiently through the cabin, offering drinks, snacks, and a friendly word to anyone who needed it. The mood was light, filled with the anticipation of a smooth journey. Passengers settled into their routines, some read books, others watched the in-flight entertainment, and a few dozed off, lulled by the gentle hum of the engines. It was a scene of tranquility, a snapshot of everyday life at 24,000 feet. Little did anyone know, fate had other plans. Beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect flight, an unseen danger was lurking. The passengers and crew, blissfully unaware, continued with their routines, oblivious to the silent threat that was about to unfold. High above the vast Pacific Ocean, a silent threat was looming. The serene blue skies and calm waters below belied the danger that was building. It was a reminder that even on the most perfect of days, the unexpected can strike without warning. Unseen and unheard, a series of metal fatigue cracks were about to change the course of Flight 243 and the lives of everyone on board forever. These tiny, almost invisible fractures, the result of years of stress and strain on the aircraft's fuselage, were poised to unleash a catastrophic event. The meticulous maintenance checks and routine inspections had missed these critical flaws, setting the stage for a disaster that no one could have predicted. As the plane continued its journey, the cracks grew, inching closer to a breaking point that would test the mettle of everyone on board. Without warning, a deafening roar ripped through the cabin, shattering the peaceful atmosphere. The plane shuddered violently as if struck by an invisible giant. Passengers were thrown from their seats, luggage tumbled from overhead compartments. Screams pierced the air, mixing with the terrifying sound of rushing wind and the plane's groaning fuselage. A section of the roof directly above the first-class cabin had ripped open, peeling back like a sardine can. The blue sky, once a comforting sight through the small windows, now rushed in with terrifying force. Passengers and crew alike stared in horror at the gaping hole in the aircraft, a terrifying breach exposing them to the unforgiving elements at 24,000 feet. In the cockpit, chaos reigned. The aircraft was being tossed around like a leaf in a storm, and the pilots were at the mercy of the elements. Papers and debris swirled around the pilots as they fought to control the aircraft. The turbulence was relentless, shaking the plane violently and making it nearly impossible to maintain a steady course. The sudden decompression sucked the air out of their lungs, making breathing a struggle. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling, and the pilots quickly donned them, their breaths coming in short, desperate gasps. Yet, amidst the pandemonium, Captain Schornsteiner's years of training kicked in. His hands moved with practiced precision, his eyes scanning the instruments and the horizon, searching for any sign of stability. "Mayday! Mayday! Mayday!" he screamed into the radio, his voice laced with urgency. The words echoed in the confined space of the cockpit, a stark reminder of the gravity of their situation. He reported their situation to the Honolulu control tower, fighting against the deafening roar of the wind and the alarms blaring in the cockpit. Every second counted, and he knew that clear communication was their lifeline. He knew they were in a desperate fight for survival. The aircraft was losing altitude rapidly, and the structural integrity was compromised. Every decision he made could mean the difference between life and death. First Officer Tompkins, despite the shock and terror gripping her, sprang into action. Her training took over, and she moved with a calm efficiency that belied the chaos around her. She began running through emergency checklists, her voice a calm counterpoint to the chaos. Each item she read out was a step towards regaining control, a beacon of order in the midst of the storm. They worked together, a well-oiled machine even in the face of disaster, their movements precise, their focus unwavering. The bond between them, forged through countless hours of training and experience, was their greatest asset. Their immediate priority was to regain control of the crippled aircraft and bring it down to a safe altitude where breathing was possible. The descent was perilous, the aircraft shuddering with every adjustment, but they persisted, driven by the will to survive. As they descended, the air pressure began to stabilize and the immediate threat of hypoxia lessened. The pilots could feel the aircraft responding to their commands, a small but significant victory in their battle for control. The control tower in Honolulu was a hive of activity, with air traffic controllers coordinating the emergency response. They relayed vital information to the pilots, guiding them towards a safe landing. The runway came into view, a strip of hope amidst the chaos. Captain Schornsteiner and First Officer Tompkins prepared for the emergency landing, their focus razor-sharp. Every movement was deliberate, every decision calculated. The aircraft touched down with a jolt, the tires screeching against the tarmac. Emergency vehicles raced towards them, ready to assist. The pilots had done it. They had brought the aircraft and its passengers to safety. Relief washed over the passengers and crew as they disembarked. The ordeal was over, and they owed their lives to the calm and decisive actions of Captain Schornsteiner and First Officer Tompkins. In the aftermath, the pilots were hailed as heroes. Their training, teamwork, and unyielding resolve had turned a potential disaster into a story of survival and triumph. Section 4. Thin Air and Fading Hope. The passengers fight for life. Back in the cabin, panic threatened to engulf the passengers. The sudden drop in cabin pressure had left everyone gasping for breath, their hearts pounding with fear. The air was thin and growing colder by the second. The temperature plummeted rapidly, turning the cabin into a frigid environment that sapped the strength from their bodies. Oxygen masks dangled from the ceiling, some swinging wildly. The sight of these masks, a lifeline in the chaos, was both a beacon of hope and a stark reminder of their dire situation. Passengers struggled to secure them, their fingers numb with fear and the biting cold. The masks, designed to save lives, became a challenge to put on as the aircraft shook violently. Clarabelle Lansing, the head attendant, despite being nearly sucked out of the gaping hole in the fuselage, clung to a seat. The force of the decompression had been overwhelming and she fought to maintain her grip. Her training momentarily forgotten, she felt a surge of terror unlike anything she had ever known. The noise, the wind, the sight of passengers in distress. It was all too much. Then her instincts kicked in. Years of training and experience surged back, pushing the fear aside. She knew she had to act, had to be a source of strength for the terrified passengers. She knew she had to act, had to be a source of strength for the terrified passengers. She moved through the cabin, helping those who were struggling, her presence a calming influence amidst the chaos. "Stay calm! Help each other!" she yelled over the roaring wind, her voice barely audible. Her words, though faint, carried a sense of authority and reassurance. Miraculously, amidst the chaos, strangers reached out to strangers. In the face of disaster, a sense of community emerged. People who had never met before were now united in their struggle for survival. They helped each other secure their oxygen masks, sharing the precious air, comforting those who had succumbed to fear. The bonds formed in those moments of crisis were unspoken but powerful, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Faces etched with determination and fear, the passengers fought to stay conscious, to stay alive. Every breath was a battle, every second a test of their willpower. The gaping hole in the fuselage was a constant reminder of their precarious situation. The wind howled through the cabin, a relentless force that threatened to tear them apart. The flight attendants, despite their own fears, worked together seamlessly. Their training had prepared them for emergencies, but nothing could have fully prepared them for this. Passengers held hands, offering comfort to one another. In the face of such overwhelming odds, the simple act of human connection provided a glimmer of hope. In the cockpit, the pilots fought to regain control of the aircraft. Their faces were set with grim determination, every maneuver a calculated effort to stabilize the plane. Outside, the plane soared through the thin air, high above the clouds. The vast expanse of the sky was both beautiful and terrifying, a stark contrast to the chaos within. Some passengers turned to prayer, seeking solace in their faith. In those moments of desperation, they found strength in their beliefs, a source of inner peace amidst the turmoil. Flight attendants distributed blankets, offering what little warmth they could. Every small act of kindness was a lifeline, a reminder that they were not alone in their struggle. As the minutes ticked by, hope began to flicker in the eyes of the passengers. They knew they were not out of danger yet, but the worst of the panic had passed. They were survivors, united in their fight for life. Section 5. A story of survival. The miracle landing. Each second felt like an eternity. Time seemed to slow down as Captain Schornsteiner, battling against the damaged aircraft and the unforgiving elements, managed to regain some control. He knew landing the plane, now a mangled wreck, would be the single most challenging task he had ever faced. The runway at Kahului Airport on the island of Maui was their only hope. The control tower relayed this information, their voices calm and reassuring despite the dire situation. First Officer Tompkins relayed instructions to the flight attendants, her voice a beacon of hope in the chaotic cabin. With the skill of a seasoned pilot and a fair share of luck, Captain Schornsteiner guided the crippled aircraft towards the runway. The landing was rough, bumpy, and agonizingly slow. Yet, when the wheels finally touched down, a collective cheer erupted from the passengers and crew. They had survived.